The Rams Squad Show is back. I'm Gavin Carlson, and are we getting a preview of the NFC Championship game this Sunday against the Lions?
And what it do, squad? It's your boy Brock, and this game versus the Lions simply comes down to who really won the trade.
Whose house? Rams house. It's the Rams Squad. Everything Los Angeles Rams every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the City of Angels, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Here comes the Rampede. The Rams Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it does. Whose house? Rams house. Whose squad? It's the Locked On Rams Squad Show with the Mob Squad. 2/3 of the Mob Squad. Me and Big Brock in the building. Right here on the Locked On Rams YouTube channel. After the fact, both on the channel and wherever the heck you get the Locked On Rams audio podcast feed. Before we jump into this one, today's show brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. On today's show, we are certainly talking endlessly about the massive showdown at SoFi against the Lions. All the storylines you could ask for. We've got the perfect man to talk about this game, someone who played for both teams, who knows these organizations as well as anybody. Big Brock is in the building. As always, Big Brock, how are you doing?
Man, doing well, doing well. I got a funny story just to start the show off with.
Bring it.
So I'm not traded yet. So I'm going on a vacation with my wife, her 30th birthday. We're going on a vacation. I'm in the airport, and this is LA. So LA obviously is TMZ country. So they have TMZ workers like that just scour the airports looking for, celebrities, right? So the guy, I get a camera shoved in my face, and then the guy is like, after the trade happened, he's like, who would you rather? And I'm still on the Rams at this time, and I'm like, I guess Matthew Stafford, since the team chose to trade Goff and bring Matthew Stafford over here. Like, I guess, Matthew Stafford, bro, that blew up. Like, Brocker says he doesn't want Goff, right?
Oh man.
As we are, on vacation, the whole process of, getting traded happens, while I'm away on vacation. Then all of a sudden I'm traded to the Lions with Jared Goff. So I have to explain to Jared Goff, like, the whole issue on what was said and how it happened and things like that. So, yeah, I was in the mix a little bit when it came to that trade. So I think that's like just a little snippet, history, if people want to know a little bit about myself. So, yeah.
I love it. I mean, yeah, it's funny from the outside because we always just assume, like, I would assume, I'm sorry, like, Jared Goff, we loved you. You brought us to a Super Bowl. Like, of course, no hard feelings, and he knows that.
Right.
But, like, everyone on planet Earth knows that in that moment, you would certainly rather have Matthew Stafford than Jared Goff. Obviously, we're happy for Mr. Goff. He's been able to turn his career around, revive his career in Detroit. But let's not forget, that pick was, hey, we get Matthew Stafford, we give you Goff and everything, right? Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that Big Brock should answer Matthew Stafford, even if he was on the Eagles, if he was on the Seahawks, if he was an NBA basketball player, if he was, everyone's saying Matthew Stafford, let alone, hey, he just got added to the team that you're on in that moment. Like, come on now, TMZ.
Right.
But hey, it is what it is. I mean, that's why this game is so interesting, and we're gonna delay it a little bit. We're certainly gonna talk about everything about this matchup with the Lions, what it means for both teams, what a win would mean, what a loss would mean, also what we're thinking about how well these two teams are playing. It's two teams that are 2 weeks ago lost a game, but now are coming off of really impressive wins. Obviously, the Rams are still the Super Bowl favorite, but I want to start with the Rams. This is the Rams Squad Show. Is it fair to say, I'm curious, is it fair to say the Rams are playing their best football right now, right? It's funny to say that when just 2 weeks ago you saw them lose a game. Nobody saw them losing. You know, before that loss, they were winning every game and handedly as well, right? Like you win 34-7 against the Bucks, right? Like was that not the best Rams we've seen? But I don't know, something about last week. You're doing it against the Cardinals, I get it. But again, you cannot tell me there's a single thing the Rams did wrong in that game. Puka Nacua, I know you're not a PFF guy, but the highest graded game ever at receiver for Puka Nacua. I've got some other PFF stats for you later about how good Puka's been, but I won't anger you yet. Just tell me, is it fair to say this is the best the Rams have been playing, or would you still take them a couple weeks ago?
You would want to be playing your best football this late in the season. I mean, especially when you're playing for something, you're planning on going to the playoffs. You want to be playing your best ball towards the back end of the season, because the back end of the season is playoff. It is Super Bowl. So you want to be, you want to have most of everything situated, and you want the gears to be truly running and everything clicking offensively. So for me, I hope they think, they believe that they're playing their best football. Because obviously, the fluke loss to the Carolina Panthers definitely had you questioning. But I think, as a lot of people have stated, that was the best thing that should probably has happened to the Rams in this situation, where you lose to a team that you're not supposed to, which gives you a kind of eye-opening experience, and you like, okay, let's really lock in. Let's play our best ball. So hopefully they are. I mean, in my opinion, they are, but you never know towards the back end of the season, especially when it comes to injuries and other things of that nature. So I believe they are. It's just about being consistent throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what makes me feel like I would say yes right now, it's hard because, it's not that long ago, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, where Sean McVay rolls out this 13 personnel, and it feels like that was what was unstoppable for a couple weeks there, where no one was expecting the Rams with Puka and Devontae Adams and a great run game to suddenly be throwing touchdown passes to Colby Parkinson and Tyler Higbee when he was healthy, Davis Allen, right? But what I like about last week, and obviously the Panthers game happened, but last week and even the week before that, it feels like, okay, teams might have adjusted, right? They might have gotten ready for 13 personnel. They might be trying to load the box a little bit more. And then we went back to last week saying, hey, we've got two of the best receivers on the planet, 167 and 2 touchdowns for Puka. That felt like one of his best games ever. I know Devontae only had 4 for 29. He didn't score a touchdown, which feels like the end of the world for Devontae Adams with what he's been doing in the end zone lately. And yet it feels like the connection between Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams is as strong as it's ever been, which makes sense with every week that goes on, that grows. But now you have a two-headed monster at running back. It's not just Kyron churning out 4 yards, 5 yards a carry. You also have Blake Corum exploding for 12 carries, 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, Ahkello Witherspoon is back. I know he's still rusty. I know it's going to take him a few weeks, but on the defensive side of the ball, you're a little bit healthier other than Q Lake being gone. And Matthew Stafford looked like a man on a mission last week after the loss to the Panthers. So it's hard to argue against that stretch where 13 personnel was rolled out and the Rams were looking unstoppable. But, I titled last week's show Greatest Show on Turf for a reason. That offense looked like if it wanted to, it could have scored 60 points. And Jacoby Brissett didn't do nothing until the Cardinals were already down 30 points. And that's why it's so interesting that you got the Lions coming to town next. Because they're coming off a great win as well. I know you were there in Detroit for that game against Dallas. And I've been pretty high on the Lions. They're healthier. They're dangerous. And it just feels like with all the storylines and everything, both teams are going to give their best game, right? You would expect the Rams and Lions, 2 teams that are among the NFL's elite, to give their best regardless in the matchup, against another elite team this late in the season. But we know this is a playoff game for the standings, but it's also a playoff game because it means so dang much to both of these teams. We'll talk more X's and O's, but I always ask you, because I'm always curious, and you're the guy who's been between the lines, you're the guy who's been in the locker room, how much, if at all, does this still get brought up? Because I know when they interviewed Jared Goff about it this week, he's like, we're still talking about the trade, bro. It was years ago. They, won a Super Bowl since then. We've arguably choked away to win a Super Bowl since then. Like, we're still talking about this, but the media is still talking about this. Are the players in either locker room still talking about this? Is Sean McVay still talking about this coming into this game?
I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not sure if they're still talking about it because obviously both teams have made their identity with the current quarterback. So they both have their own identity. They're both successful at this point of their career. So for me, I don't know if it's still talked about, but like as you stated, we can't as media, we can't ignore the fact that both of these quarterbacks have history with each other's teams. So
Yeah.
For me, it's always going to be that little elephant in the room where, we have to remember that both of them have history. Like I said, with the teams, they both have been, they both have won, they both have lost with the team. Jared Goff has been to the Super Bowl with the Rams and things of that nature. Now Matthew Stafford has. So it's like the history is there. Obviously, they might not be talking about it. Media, we're talking about it. And it's still I think it's a question, obviously, with the Rams winning the Super Bowl and the Lions, almost getting to a Super Bowl, you still want to know, like, who really won the trade? I think that's still a question in the air. I don't know why. I don't know who really won that trade because you look at the Rams, they won the Super Bowl, right? The Lions built their team off of the picks that they got from the Rams. So both teams kind of needed each other, to be successful at this point of, the organization and where we are now. So that's going always be, I think, a statement as far as what the media uses when Detroit plays the Rams, and they're two of the top teams in the NFC right now. So for me, I think, this is going to be an epic game. It's going to be a great game because like you said, both of these teams are playing great ball at the late stage of the season, which is good on both of their parts. But, it's going to be fireworks when it comes to the fans watching a great game.
Oh, yeah. No, it feels like this is a game that everyone's like, why is this not the Sunday night game or the Monday night game? Like, this is the game that everyone wants to watch because if you took the storylines out of this one, it's going to be a great watch. It's two of the best offenses in football, stars all over the field in terms of, even the people that are casuals and only watch for fantasy football. Like, talk about all the stars on offense on both these teams. But then, you add the storylines, you add the fact that these are two of the NFL's elite teams, but two teams that still don't have their divisions locked up, still don't have their the NFC standings, of course, are nowhere near locked up. Like, so many implications, so many storylines. It's perfect. We're going to take a break, but before we do, I do got to say, both teams won the trade, right? Like, both teams won the trade. The Lions were never winning a Super Bowl with that team and Matthew Stafford, not because of Matthew Stafford, but because of the team. And while I think the Rams could have maybe won a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, obviously they got close. Guess what? The second they got Matthew Stafford, they did win that Super Bowl. I think the argument that Rams fans will make, and rightfully so, is we won a Super Bowl and they got close. I'm going to take winning the Super Bowl. I think so, right? So certainly we won it, but it still worked out for them too. Like you said, it built their roster. And if they eventually do win one, then it becomes a debate. I'm hoping it's not this year because I still think it's ours to lose. But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about how the Lions match up with the Rams, especially after what the Lions did against, in my opinion, a somewhat similar defense in the Cowboys. So we'll talk about that after our break here. We'll be right back on the Locked On Rams Squad Show. Now, today's show is brought to you by a new sponsor, and I love these new sponsors because I get to share new companies with you that I love. This show is brought to you by ZocDoc. Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. No. It's time to take your health seriously, and ZocDoc makes that easier than ever because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. Using ZocDoc makes scheduling easier. You just search for an in-network doctor and book right in the app. As someone who is very active, I know Big Brock's always in the gym lifting as well. Like, it's hard to have your job, have for us, second job with this, have your fitness goals, and then something comes up and now I have to schedule an appointment to fix things out. No, come on. I don't got time for that. ZocDoc makes it easy. There's real appointment times listed, including same day visits. No more back and forth phone calls or waiting weeks to be seen. I've used it. I know that other people on this network have used it. The app especially is quick, it's clean, and honestly removes all the stress of finding the right doctor. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Ram Squad Show back with you. The Mob Squad, 2/3 of it, me and Big Brock, previewing this massive Rams-Lions game. We already talked about what that trade and all the storylines around it might mean for the locker room and everything. But what does it mean on the field? Because I feel like we're past the stage of, even though we just spent the first part on it and the media still does as well, but we're getting slowly past the stage of talking about, emotionally what it means, and now getting to the fact of, hey, the Rams know Jared Goff really well, right? Like, we know him really well because our head coach was the one who grew him into the quarterback he is. But our head coach, Sean McVay, is also the one who saw his shortcomings and traded him away for a better quarterback as a result. We know Jared Goff's shortcomings, right? If there's pressure in his face, for any quarterback, that's tough. But for a non-mobile, non-huge arm type of QB like Jared Goff, that pressure in your face is going to be tough, right? If he's not able to get the ball quickly, if he doesn't have guys open across the middle, right? Amon-Ra, quick slants, Jameson Williams, drag routes, if those aren't open, how does he look? It's certainly going to help the Rams each time we play him, knowing his weaknesses. I think that part of his game matches up real well with the Rams when you talk about the pressure you can get off the edge with Jared Verse and Byron Young, the pressure you can get up the middle with Kobe Turner, right? It's just a dangerous front seven, as we know. How do you think this Rams defense matches up with Matthew Stafford, with Jared Goff, and how much does those future meetings and him being in the building on your team help a defense like the Rams going into Sunday?
Man, as you're talking, bro, I'm just thinking about like how evenly matched these teams are. Like, they almost built the same if you think about it. Like,
yeah,
let's just put them next to each other. Both of the teams have really good quarterbacks. Both of the teams have really solid offensive lines. Both of the teams have really good defensive fronts. Both of the teams have question marks around their secondary right now. So it's like both teams are similarly, like, they're built so similar. It's crazy. So that off top, I'm looking at that aspect. I'm like, dang, I don't really know. This game is really a toss-up. Like, I can't really lean heavily Rams, and I can't really lean heavily Detroit because these teams are so evenly matched. So for me, it's just about whoever executes and makes less mistakes. Like, we all know, if you get to Jared early, you start to rattle him early, he's gonna be a little flustered, and he might give you a pick or two. But we also know that's just a quarterback, like you said, that's just a quarterback thing. Like, you get hit a little bit, you start getting a little happy feet, you're trying to make plays, things of that nature. So for me, I see it as if the Rams get up, like if they start to lead, they lead by 14 points or whatever, it's going to be a little bit tougher for the Lions to come back from that, because I don't see them as a come from behind, comeback type of team. I see the Lions as a dominating type team where they're leading the whole game and they're running the clock up, because you can't do anything with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, and if they need the ball, on third down, they're throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and if they have a deep ball or whatever, he has to hit, Jameson Williams. So for me, like I said, these teams are so evenly matched. It's hard for me to lean either way. I just know personally, from a player perspective, whoever makes the less amount of mistakes will win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny too, because you're absolutely right. I think everyone agrees, like, you don't want to see, if you're a Lions fan or someone rooting on the Lions, you don't want to see the Lions have to come back just because because of how unstoppable they are when they get ahead, right? It doesn't mean they can't do it because they still do have incredible weapons, right? Like Jahmyr Gibbs is such a explosive player. Jameson Williams is such a explosive player. Amon-Ra St. Brown is such a consistent and sometimes explosive player. So if the Lions are behind, they certainly have the star power to get there. It's just not where they want to be considering their style of play. And that's why we have to talk about this Lions-Cowboys game that we watched, because I went into that game saying, okay, like I couldn't agree with you more about what you said about how really the Lions secondary, which by the way is even more injured than it's been. Kirby Joseph I think is going to be put on IR. Like the Rams, they could put up 50 points if they just air things out if they really wanted to, with how bad the secondary for the Lions is going to be. But when you talk about the Rams defense and you compare it to the Cowboys defense, I think those are also extremely similar. When after the Cowboys went and got Quinn Williams, after they went and got a linebacker or two, for a couple weeks, that Cowboys front seven was fantastic against the run, especially. And so I wanted to see how the Lions would look against a defense that kind of matched up well with them. Great front seven, especially in the interior D-line, going to be able to stop the run. How would they do? Well, how would the Lions do against them? Well, guess what? David Montgomery, 6 for 60, efficient, but no, he had a 35-yard run. Outside of that, just 5 for 25, a decent game. Jahmyr Gibbs has his worst rushing game in terms of yards, 12 carries for 43 yards for Jahmyr Gibbs. We're talking the highest yards per touch running back in the NFL. Over 6 yards per touch, 12 carries for 43 yards last week. Yes, he had 3 touchdowns. That'll help people forget. He also had 7 catches for 77 yards because he's just that darn good. But one of his worst rushing games. And so while the Lions win that game, while it was an impressive win against a Cowboys team that was very hot, guess what that game showed us? It showed us that when the Lions go against a good run defense like the Cowboys, they can be tamed. But on the flip side, they were tamed and they still put up 44 points, right? So that's where it's so difficult. It's like I do see a scenario where the Rams do the same thing. They're able to make the Lions one-dimensional, get David Montgomery silenced, handle, contain Jahmyr Gibbs on the ground as much as possible. But the question is, even if they do that, is that enough to stop this Lions offense, who just put up 44 points against the Cowboys, despite having one of their worst games on the ground? That's what makes things really interesting and also a little nervy if you're a Rams fan like we all are. But I think that's also a good test for this Rams defense. As much as you don't want to have tests right now, you want to win games, you want to be the number 1 seed, it'll be interesting to see how the Rams respond to a team like the Lions, who is going to continuously try to run. That's the thing with the Lions. If it gets stopped, they're not going to abandon it. They're going to keep running. They're going to keep testing that front seven for the Rams. We know how much we've been praising Poona Ford. Hopefully he can keep, him and that front seven can keep having the success against the run they've been having this year and not show signs of that Rams run defense from years past, right? That's what is really going to, it's going to be a really illuminating game in terms of we're going to learn a lot about the Rams defense. And then, of course, like you said, both secondaries are not doing that well. I feel better about the Rams secondary than the current state of the Lions one. But, man, the Lions are absolutely dangerous. They're going to, they're going to go for it. They're going to try to steal a couple possessions on 4th down as well. They're going to have a couple trick plays up their sleeve like you always talked about. And I just hope the Rams defense is ready and don't get fooled by one game against the Cowboys and think stopping the run is enough or something, because it's clearly not. Based on Thursday, it is clearly not. But when we come back from our next break, we got to talk about a little bit this Rams offense going against the Lions defense a little bit more. We hinted at it. The secondary for the Lions is extremely beat up, but do the Rams even need to air things out, or can they run the ball on this team the way they ran the ball on the Cardinals? We'll talk about that. Eventually, we'll get into our predictions as well. And I also want to talk about what a win or loss would mean for the Rams in their race for the NFC West and for their race for the number 1 seed and for that darn Super Bowl. We'll talk about that after our break here on the Locked On Rams Squad Show. Now, today's show also brought to you by PrizePicks. Look, you've heard me say it a million times. I absolutely love PrizePicks. You and I, we make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss on any of the excitement this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Now, look, I can't do it for the NBA. I work for an NBA team, but I certainly can for the NFL. What I love about PrizePicks, they always add new features. The new stacks feature is a game changer. You can now pick multiple stats for the same player. You couldn't do that in the past. Now you can. So if this week you think Blake Corum is just going to go crazy, you can, pick more on his rushing yards. You can pick more on touchdowns, and you can pick more on another stat as well. It's that easy. You can stack those. Also, they also have team picks as well. So in the past, you can only pick players. Now, if you just think the Rams are going to win by a certain number, you can just pick the Rams to win. You weren't able to do that in the past. PrizePicks gets better and better, and they have the injury reboot, which saves your lineup from a loss. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Locked On Rams Squad Show is back with me and Big Brock, getting you ready for this absolutely massive game on Sunday against the Lions. We already talked about the storylines. We talked about this interesting matchup for the Rams defense against the Lions offense, especially seeing what the Lions did against the Cowboys last week. Let's talk a little bit about this Rams offense, though, because, again, like I told you when we started this thing, coming off of, in my opinion, the best offensive performance we've seen. This team barely had third downs in this game against the Cardinals. They threw it 281 and 3 touchdowns. They ran it 36 for 249 and 3 touchdowns. They're getting people involved. Who knows if we'll see Tutu Atwell back? That's become a weird thing. But again, Puka Nacua, I told you I'd have some other stats for you, Big Brock. Puka Nacua, this is per PFF as well. I'm sorry. But I know look, just let me ask. It's the grades that I know you're not a fan of, but when they tell you like an advanced stat that kind of makes sense, what's your stance on that?
I don't know. I just think it's too much stuff being recorded. It's just not. You don't know you don't know who the PFF graders are. Are they ex-football players? Are they, what are they grading? Are they grading just based on your chips that's in your jersey and your pads? That's what my thing is. It's like, yeah, I love the grades. It kind of gives you something to look at, some stats to look at. But sometimes, your the how good you're doing or how you're impacting the game isn't always
right
felt or affected. Based on PFF, you might be stopping the run and forcing the run to get back to everybody else, but they're not going to look at that as being you impacted the game. So that's my only tidbit on PFF. We're not sure who the graders are that's grading these these guys. So that's all.
Yeah, no, totally fair. Can't argue with you. I think the grades, like you said, it's when it starts affecting how people are viewed around the league. Like you mentioned it, affecting contracts, affecting how people are getting paid, just affecting the overall kind of image of a player based on a grade that's kind of made up of random things. I get you there. Right. But yeah, when they do have advanced stats, though, or not even advanced ones that make sense, right? Then it gets interesting. And one that was really interesting, Puka Nacua, per PFF, at last time I checked, he's had 29 opportunities to have contested catches. Now, again, like you said, what is a contested catch? Like he's already see Brock cracking the laugh there. Like, what is a contested catch, right? Like, I don't know. Is it if a guy is, making contact with you? If someone's within half a yard of you, 8 yards of you? I don't really know. Maybe PFF has a description of that. Maybe I need to look into that. But all I know is contested catches, you're not supposed to make them often, right? It's contested, right? You can at least get that in the name. Well, Puka Nacua, how about in his 29 attempts to have a contested catch, he's caught 23 of them. 23 of them. Like, think about that. Like, these are, at the very least, we know these are 50-50 balls, right? 23 out of 29 is absurd. Like 70%, 75%, something like that. And the most interesting thing they said, what I was watching, is the record for contested catches in a season, they had it at like 26 or 27 for the season. Guys like Kenny Golladay, they haven't been recording this one for that long, to be fair. But since they have been, guys like Kenny Golladay, who had that 1 year where he was crazy for the Lions. Allen Robinson had a year where he was catching everything. It got him paid, and then he did nothing after that, as Rams fans know as well. But they said it was like 26 contested catches on like 42, 43, 45, 51 attempts or something, right? Puka is on pace to break that and do it at an 80% clip. I just have to put that out there. And now I'm going to say, against this Lions secondary, there might not need to be any contested catches because we talked about how banged up this team is. You're telling me we have Puka, who is playing receiver better than anyone in the NFL right now. I'll argue with anybody on that. And you have Devontae Adams, who over the last decade has played a receiver better than just about anybody in the NFL. Going against the secondary, is there any, like, if you're on the Lions, right, put yourself in the mindset of maybe the D coordinator of the Lions or a player on the Lions, and you know you are screwed, at least on that secondary front. Like, what could the Lions potentially try to do defensively to stop this Rams team?
If I was on the Lions, what I would do is just keep everything in front of you. Obviously, you don't want the big explosive plays. You don't want the magnificent catches in the end zone. Keep everything in front of you and just make LA play the game where they just beat you by 1,000 cuts, and then you just try to play great red zone D. They let them dink and dunk, get everything in front of you, and then obviously stop the run, but let them, when it comes to the passing game, let them just catch everything in front of you, and then you get in the red zone where it gets more condensed, more compact for the offense and defense. Usually the defense that's an advantage for the defense, in the red zone. So if I would say anything, I would just say stop the run. And, when it comes to the passing game, because we feel, you're the Lions, you feel like your secondary isn't up to par. Not saying they're not good. They got DJ Reed and Meek Robinson that, like, those are pretty good players. It's just, do they match up with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams? That's the real question,
Yeah.
So, when you think about that, it's, hey, let's just keep everything in front of us and play great D, red zone D, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think the other question in that is, if you're the Lions, it feels like if you do that, if you force the Rams to beat you by 1,000 cuts, not only do you maybe stop them in the red zone, but it's kind of like that Panthers game. Do you maybe get a tip ball or two and get a pick when you need it, a fumble when you need it? Do you maybe, it feels like one of the only reasons the Rams lose games right now is maybe Sean McVay overthinks it. If he's got to have 15 play drives, does he maybe pass the ball 5 times in a row when he should have ran it? Or does he maybe have a play action on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 when he should have just gotten the yard, right? Like, maybe the Lions hope that's the only way that they can win this ball game. We'll see, though. We'll see. And when we come back from our last break, I want to hear what your final prediction is for this game. I'll give mine. One thing that worries me about this game, one thing that makes us feel good about this game. We'll get into that after our last break here on the Locked On Rams Squad Show. Finally, today's show brought to you by, again, another new sponsor. You love to see it. It's Car Gurus. Look, car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars you want. Because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes that whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way you want. Use Car Gurus deal ratings to compare cars quickly without having to guess whether the price is fair. You'll be able to filter by everything: mileage, trim, features, so you're only seeing cars that you actually fit what you need. The in-depth vehicle reviews help you understand what ownership actually looks like, not just how the car looks like online. And having verified dealerships and upfront pricing makes the whole thing feel transparent and stress-free. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings, the most of any major online automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deal. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CARGURUS.com. cargurus.com. Back here live, Locked On Rams Squad Show. Big Brock and myself, we're not live. I'm getting confused with the Sunday shows, which we will certainly be live on Sunday after this epic game that we've been talking about nonstop. I like this. Sometimes we talk storylines, we talk about past games, but this game's just too big to be talking about anything else. Quick reminder for those who are curious where things stand for the Rams. The biggest thing is we still got to make sure we win our darn division. Obviously, last week's win was huge, but the Seahawks are playing unbelievable football right now. And we have the Seahawks next week. We're 10-3. The Seahawks are 10-3. We have the tiebreaker with them right now, but a loss this week and a Seahawks win obviously puts them ahead of us. Or even if both teams win this week and you lose to the Seahawks next week, then they are ahead of us, right? It's nice in the sense that we control our own destiny, but we also have to play the Seahawks, which are a really good team in Seattle. So obviously that's huge. And then in the NFC in general, luckily the Eagles are falling off a cliff, so we've got cushion on them. The Packers, Bears, and Lions all battling in the NFC North, both for the division and for that number 1 seed as well. So this game and obviously next week's game are massive. I want to hear, Big Brock, your prediction on this one real quick. Let me pull up the spread just because I know you're not like a bet or anything, but it gives some context on what Vegas thinks is going to happen. Obviously the Rams are at home, so that's always going to help as well. Current spread, Rams favored by 5.5 at home at SoFi against the Lions, and that over under 55.5. They're predicting a shootout, like obviously you would. Combined 74 last week for Cowboys Lions, and the Rams just put up 45. This might be like that Rams Chiefs game on Monday night years ago with Jared Goff when it was 52-49 or something. We might get one of those. But after everything you saw watching that Thursday night game between the Cowboys and Lions closely, being in Detroit, seeing obviously what the Rams did last week, what does your gut tell you about this massive game?
Oh, this is a big game. I like both teams. That's the thing. Obviously these. If you're a true football fan and you're just watching objectively, you got to look at both of these teams and think they're two of the top teams in the NFC. So you got to like both teams going into it. That's my little disclaimer. But I'm biasly, a Rams fan. This is a Rams pod, but I believe they can pull it out. I think as far as having a defense, having a young defense, if they do the same, we talked a little bit briefly about the Rams, but if they do the same, keep everything in front of them, stop the run. You have to stop the run because they're going to keep running it if you don't. But if I had a prediction score, I don't think this is – I said it would be a shootout, but I feel like both of the defenses are going to step up and play some good ball. So I'm going to go 24-17 Rams.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think the spread. I think I'm taking the under on that. So, I got a 24-17. No, that's over, right?
No, it's under. It's under.
Under?
Yeah, it's because they had it combined at 55.5, so that would be 41.
Okay,
so you got it two touchdowns less in the game than they've got. So that's a bold claim. That's a bold claim.
Yeah.
But hey, that's kind of how the NFL is, though, right? You expect one thing to happen, and the exact opposite happens so many times. So wouldn't be surprised there. But you do have the Rams winning. You do have them winning by that touchdown there. I've been very conflicted on this one. I think of the three of us, I have been the highest probably on the Lions all year. I felt like they were just needed to be healthy away. But real quick, before we wrap it up, I'll give you mine. You're good. I've got the Rams winning this game. I think I got them winning it by 3, though. Like, I think it's going to be one of those games that comes down to the last play or two. I know D-Mac's been waiting for that game-winning field goal for our new kicker. It might finally happen this week. It might finally happen.
Kicker.
Yeah, the thicker kicker with the game winner. That would be something else. I do have it being high scoring, though. I have it very, very, very high scoring. I think it's going to break the 55.5. Give me you know what? I'll say maybe it's not a thicker kicker game winner. Give me 35-31 though. Like high scoring. I think it comes down to some sort of last minute drive, whether it's the Rams have it down 3, 31-28, and they go down and get a game-winning touchdown, or maybe the Lions have the ball down 4 and they don't score on that final drive. I think it's going to come down to that. If you ask me the X factor, the Rams just got to get off the field on one of those Lions 4th downs. You know there's going to be at least 2 or 3 of those Lions 4th downs.
Yes, for sure.
You get off the field on one of those and don't have a couple fluky picks like you did against the Panthers 2 weeks ago. And I still think the Rams are the best team in football. So that's my prediction. But we're going to wrap this one up. Shout out to everybody tuning in on this one. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll be back here live on Sunday afternoon, right after the game, to break down what is hopefully a massive win for our Rams. Whose house? Rams house. Whose squad? It's the Locked On Rams Squad show for Big Brock and myself. And we miss you, D-Mac. He'll be back Sunday. Don't worry. Take care. We'll see you all on Sunday evening after, hopefully, a big-time win. Take care.